Hello, everybody. My name is Sam Jones. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Method.security. This is Sean Hacker, the CTO and co-founder of Method.security. If you're sitting there and processing Sean's last name, I want to assure you it is actually real. He did start his career at the NSA, and yes, destiny is real. At Method, we turn breakthroughs in AI into breakthroughs in security, specifically with the mission of defending critical organizations across government and commercial. Now, the question we ask ourselves at Method is, what if cyber was about winning? Not some checkboxing exercise, not some compliance exercise, not some fatalism mentality, but about winning. This is an especially pertinent question given that a digital adversary is being born right now that can sense, make sense, and attack at machine speed. Our bet is that to win against this adversary, the same techniques that are going to be AI-enabled and coming for our organizations from an offensive perspective need to be weaponized by the good guys for both defense and offense. Man-unmanned and swarming concepts are taking off in other parts of the battlefield. We are doing the same for cyber.
We've spent the last year leveraging our experiences operating cyber tools, designing scalable data architectures, and building physical no-fail autonomy platforms to design and build a C2 autonomy platform for the cyber domain. Essentially, what we're building here at Method is the full self-driving equivalent for cyber. And along the way, we're unlocking and connecting workflows for operators across both the offensive and the defensive missions. Time and time again, we've seen that the security market births niche point product solutions that don't really deliver for the mission-critical environments that need it most. At Method, we reject that status quo, which is why from day one, we've been focused on building with your mission environments in mind. And what we mean by that and how we live that every day is that we focus on building and deploying for the largest, most complicated environments on the planet. For Fortune 500 companies that live in the cloud and on-prem, for high-side DoD environments, for all these gnarly security environments that if you don't have this full autonomy suite, it's going to be incredibly difficult to defend it from day to day. And that focus is why we believe that this autonomy is necessary. And we focus on those organizations because we believe that these are the organizations that truly matter. These are the organizations that we need to defend day in and day out. And these are the teams that are in need of real capability in order to do their mission. And that real capability is what Sam will show you now.
All right, now for the fun stuff. So I'm going to do a demo, and in this demo, I'm going to role play a red teamer or an offensive operator, and I'm going to launch a fast-moving campaign against a real environment. Specifically, I'm going to task Method with attacking Wayne Industries, a fictional organization that has real resources out on the internet, to map and enumerate their entire external attack surface, characterize every resource that they have on the internet, find vulnerabilities, find which of those vulnerabilities might be possible to use for an implant an agent, and then use that to laterally move. Importantly, Method is going to do all the heavy lifting here. I'm essentially going to provide an objective, provide rules of engagement, and hit go. This is a representative workflow that a government offensive operator might conduct, shortened into a 6-minute period, but it's also representative of what an elite commercial red teamer would do for, a purple-like workflow. So let's jump in. The first thing that I'm going to do here is I'm going to kind of initiate and set up my workspace for my operation and provide Method that objective that I kind of outlined previously, that I'm going to launch an internet-based attack on Wayne Industries, and I'm going to give it a little bit more information about how I want it to conduct, map and enumerate, find potential points of compromise, and again, drop an implant that I want to use for lateral movement. Setting up my initial target, which is just characterized by initial domain. This can get much more complex for certain workflows, on-prem, whatever it might be. Then I'm going to set up my infrastructure that's actually going to conduct this. Behind the scenes, Method is doing command and control across a number of cloud agent systems that are spawned across different hyperscalers in different regions. While this may look awesome and fun, it's actually really important for confusing and overwhelming anyone that's on the defensive side that's going to be receiving what I'm going to throw at them in just a moment. So I'm adjusting my different clusters here that'll be distributed. Next, I'm going to be setting up the rules of engagement. Specifically, I'm whitelisting the autonomy to only target anything under Wayne Industries XYZ. I'm going to set the tempo to high, and I'm also going to set the noise to high. I just want to move fast. I don't care about noise. These are my basic parameters for my rules of engagement, but you could imagine going low and slow is actually more important for other types of operations. Finally, the last setup is I'm going to provide some initial upload of some threat intelligence that has already done some basic recon on this fictional organization and outlined some things about what their business operations, what their infrastructure might look like. With that, I'm creating my workspace, and Method is basically priming itself with all that context, those rules of engagements, and getting ready to go. So the first thing that Method is going to do right out of the gate is that it's going to do some initial DNS and domain-based reconnaissance. The same thing that an elite security operator or red teamer would do out of the gate, but Method's just doing this on my behalf. Important to note is that Method is in auto mode right now, meaning that it's working without me in the loop. And so everything that it's doing is it's doing without me in the loop. And you can see the first thing that Method is doing here, and it's how it's adjusting its plan, is that it's completed some initial DNS reconnaissance, and it's now recommending and about to play forward some additional steps. Importantly, it's doing this all on the fly. Given the data that it's seeing, which you can see here, everything is being transformed to a map, a clean map of the battlefield, of objects that have relations to each other, that have risks with each other. This is what the autonomy is using to target, and this is what I'm using to understand what the autonomy is actually doing. So right now, doing some basic web probing, some different port scanning. There's a number of different things happening under the hood, but at any time I can actually inspect the no-kidding commands and evidence that Method is always providing. That audit trail, that ledger of everything that's going on, helps me trust the system and also helps us perform and get better. So Method is starting to branch out into a number of different workflows here. On the top, it's actually doing a browserless content capture of a website that it found, and I'm asking the system, why did you choose this? And to which Method responds, it's doing this because with a threat intelligence document that I uploaded, I know that Wayne Industries uses certain content delivery networks and captures and other infrastructure that some of your browsing infrastructure and some of these tools can actually bypass. That's why it shows that. At every single step when Method is predicting and replanning, it's taking into account the objective, the context, the data that it's seeing, and making progress towards that objective. Method has come across a lot more data at this point across different web pages, URLs, certificates, and a number of other things. And this topmost graph up here, this content capture where it's looking for web-based vulnerabilities to exploit, actually came up with a dead end. But that's okay. You know, the good thing about Method being completely autonomous here is that it's able to kind of unlock the entire offensive search space at an exponentially faster pace than I would be able to do myself. I expect it to hit dead ends given my objective, but I want it to keep going to find, again, a point of compromise where I can drop an implant and then laterally move. There's a couple of network services that Method just came up and discovered, and I want to understand why it just decided to throw some different brute force and vulnerability checks. So again, I'm just conversing with Method. What are the different network applications that you're seeing right now? It sees an SSH instance. This makes sense. It's attempting to brute force. And it saw an outdated Nginx instance, which is throwing a vulnerability at to attempt to, again, find a vulnerability that can compromise to throw an implant. Importantly, I skipped it. I flipped over into Copilot mode, and just right before that happened, that's because Method was starting to launch some higher risk tools that I wanted to basically be in the driver's seat, and I didn't want the autonomy to go full-blown all by itself. So now I'm actually in control. And you can see Method actually was able to harvest credentials. It didn't find the Nginx vulnerability, and it's recommending that it installs an agent via SSH. I'm inspecting that install. It's going to develop and generate a randomized binary for the target architecture of the machine that it just found, and now it's installing that machine. I can inspect the evidence, again, the audit trail, the specifics of what's happening at any point in time, and kind of watch Method as it works here to install this agent. And you'll see in a moment here, I have another agent available, not just my cloud agent systems, but now this other agent that was just dynamically installed on this target host and now is available for lateral movement. This was my original objective. Even though there were some dead ends found along the way, that's okay. I wanted to go fast, I wanted to go with noise, and I wanted to find a point of entry for lateral movement. I also can replay and go back in time at any point to replay and find how that graph may have changed so that I have the evidence and audit trail to basically improve for my next mission. And that's actually how Method gets better with each operation. All that data is being collected, and it's ultimately improving how the operation is using going forward. So what you just saw was definitely an offensive operation, applicability in government and applicability in commercial. However, all the tools, all the techniques, all the technical foundations that made that possible, the perception, the reasoning, the C2, all is directly applicable for defense. In fact, most of our customers and users across commercial and government use Method for pure defensive workflows. And that's why we built the platform the way that we did. We believe strongly that the intersection of offense and defense with harnessing AI is really how we're going to change the game and flip the script, and that's what we're all about. And that's why we're also dual use, focusing on commercial, focusing on government. Sean and I are here all day. If you'd like to talk about where we're deployed in Fortune 500 and with some of the government organizations, we'd love to talk to you, and we'd especially love to talk to you if you run a mission-critical security organization and you are interested in partnering. Cheers.